if we bring it around, if there's enough cable, and we can hook it here someplace and kind of dress it in
Do you
there.
have a game plan, or
Yes.
as usual?
Are you the operator at camera? Oh, great. What is your name? Right? Okay. Well, Mr. Forsyth, we've been sitting here talking about your travels, and I find out that you have never been to Dallas and Fort Worth, my territory. So we hope one time that you'll come. But in the meanwhile, it's my pleasure to have the opportunity to bring you to our audience by way of this interview that we're doing here in New York City. For their benefit, you are, of course, they know that you're a novelist and a writer, but this is your first time now to break into the wonderful world of movie making.
It certainly is, yeah.
As a producer. Now that you have this first picture behind you, The Fourth Protocol, will there be any more, or are you going to say never again?
No, I wouldn't say either yes, or never again. I think I would keep my options open at this point, because I've lived now with this movie really on a 7-day-a-week basis for 3 years. It's a very intensive business, making movies. You just don't take time off, because when you do, things go wrong. And so I am going to take a little break. We have the movie out in America, the most important market in the world by miles. We have to see how she shapes up here, and if she's good, beautiful. But I think I'll probably take a little break, have a little vacation, and then see what happens. I could possibly go back to the old profession, novel writing, do another novel. I know the publishers would like that to happen. Or maybe another screenplay by me, but not producing the movie thereof. Or maybe another opportunity comes up to produce a movie. I don't know yet, so I'm just going to stand back a little while and wait to see how things fall.
Did you have total control of this film, casting and everything?
Technically speaking, the executive producer, yes, does. However, I'm not stupid enough or impudent enough to feel that with an experience in filmmaking that can be measured in microns, I'm better than a guy like John Mackenzie, my director, who was 25 years in filmmaking. So obviously the director on the set is king. He's the guy who's going to have to work with the actors. And from a very, very early stage, John and I, when he came on the show, got our heads together and found we had a parallel vision of what we wanted to make. So that was good news. I was very confident just to let John do his own casting. On Michael Caine, that was already a foregone conclusion, because Michael and I had started the whole thing, and Michael was going to play the starring role. Pierce Brosnan was brought in by John Mackenzie because he had once directed him in a small role in a film called The Long Good Friday. In the meanwhile, Pierce had become a star in America as Remington Steele, but I didn't know him because we hadn't seen it in Britain at that time. So John said, I know this young Irish guy and he's good. Shall we see him? We flew him over to London, and I was 10 minutes in the room and I said, that is a star in the making. And so Pierce was on the show. And then, we talked over, the main castings, Ned Beatty, Alan North, Ray McAnally, and we think we got ourselves some good ones, But it was great fun, but I never tried to take John's job away from him. Mine was a kind of a supervisory role.
One of the things that struck me, and I've thought so much about it since I saw the film last night, Mr. Forsyth, and that is we have Pierce Brosnan playing this Russian agent. And, of course, to American audiences, he is Remington Steele. He's the worst of bad guys. I mean, this is really a bad guy. And yet, all the women, I think, reacted as I did. You're looking at this gorgeous man on screen, and in spite of all this mayhem he's doing, he is so appealing. Now, is that a plus or a minus for the story?
Well, we feel it's a plus. One of the odd things, perhaps, is that ladies don't really mind, or don't seem to mind, the bad things a guy does. I mean, look at Larry Hagman, for heaven's sake. I mean, he's real nasty, but the girls love him, or seem to. And the Jackal was a killer. But, the girls almost sighed when he got killed, finally, because he was kind of an attractive killer. And I think we have here a desperately handsome guy who, is a totally lethal Soviet agent who will kill you if he gets in his way. And yet, when he gets blown away, I know a number of ladies who've seen the film said, well, pity he got blown away, because he's just so good looking.
But as the writer of the book, you're perfectly happy with him?
Sure. You see, in the book, I didn't really describe Petrovsky, but physically. I think when we saw Pierce, we realized that he's like Michael Caine. He's a big man, but he's dark to Michael's blonde, and he's slim to Michael's beefy. And so as antagonists, they made a good pair because they were contrasting types to each other. But as to the end, yeah, he had to die. I mean, he wasn't going to be allowed to get away with wasting a U.S. air base with a small atomic bomb. You can't have that kind of thing going on. So he had to get killed.
The whole premise of this movie about the fact that the atomic bomb, a small atomic bomb, could be put together with these components, a dozen components. Now, I read that is a feasible thing.
Afraid so.
Has it ever been done?
No, as far as we know, it's never been done. You see, the prop well, it isn't a prop. What you see on the screen actually is not a plastic prop from the props department. It was made by a professor of nuclear engineering in his laboratory, and it is a totally life-size, to-scale, feasible atomic bomb that would, if the components were not stainless steel but enriched uranium-235, explode. But as he made plain, you can't just walk into the local hardware store and order up some uranium. You have to have these kind of materials from a government laboratory with a nuclear facility, and they have to be milled and drilled to the nearest micron so that they fit together in the right balances and proportions. So you would really have to be looking to a major power with a nuclear capability to mount that kind of outrage. Thank God, so far, the Ayatollahs and the Gaddafis do not have that facility. And oddly enough, the Russians don't want them to get it either, because they're not crazy in Moscow.
Mr. Forsyth, you have just made my day.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed very much this chance to talk with you, and I hope the film does well. It's a real thriller, a great thriller. I hope it does well, and I hope we see you sometime in Dallas-Fort Worth.
I'd love to come to Texas. I really would.
Thank you. Nice interview. Thank you.
Okay,
Very nice.
first one's now. Look
Okay.
about where you were looking before.
Okay. As producer, does that mean then that you had total control, casting and everything? Even though Pierce Brosnan plays this Russian agent who is so lethal and so horrible, he is still very, very appealing, especially to women. Is this a plus or a minus for the movie? Are you perfectly happy with Pierce Brosnan then, as the writer of the book? I read that the premise of this movie is feasible. True? Has this ever been done then? Okay, now let me just give you silent reactions. Okay, thank you.